Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Let me introduce myself quickly. My name is Dr. Bernice Ledbetter. I serve as Dean of Students, and I also serve as the Director for the Center for Women in Leadership and the co-chair for the Graziadio Diversity Council. I teach in the area of organizational theory and management. I teach courses on leadership, and so I'm just delighted to see you coming and joining us for this important and timely conversation with an individual that I have admired both from afar and near for many, many years. Let me introduce our speaker to you now. Meisha Sherman is a graduate of our Executive MBA, and she is the Global Vice President, Human Resources and Corporate Vice President, Diversity and Inclusion at Invista Holdings Corporation. Meisha Sherman joined Invista Corporation, which is a Danaher legacy company, as the Vice President for Global Human Resources with over 25 years in human resources. In her current role, she is responsible for all facets of human resources, including business partner, executive compensation, employee relations, compensation and benefits, organizational design, performance management, talent acquisition, leadership development, and diversity and inclusion, succession planning, employee engagement, and talent management, delivering high impact strategies that drive sustainable business results and organizational excellence. If you have not already figured out, she is an amazing rock star and capable of so many important functions in the organization. Just a little bit more about Meisha's background. Prior to joining Invista Corporation, she held several HR executive and leadership roles at Fortune 10 technology company, Hewlett-Packard, and most recently as a Global Senior Director, Executive Leadership and Organizational Development, driving leadership talent management, L&D, and organizational development strategies and efforts, initiatives, and developing and building executive leaders and teams to deliver results. Meisha is one of our most beloved alums. She's been very engaged with us and has graciously given us some time this afternoon to share her thoughts about things related to diversity and inclusion, and also sort of what's happening in her industry, which will be really fascinating, and a little bit about personal brand. But before we jump into all of that fascinating content, Meisha, I wonder if you would be so kind as to share, I've given a little bit of a narrative, but share a little bit about your journey. How did you get from Graziadio to making this gigantic impact in the world through your professional positions? Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for the kind words, Dr. Ledbetter. Thank you so much for the very generous introduction. Hello, everybody out there. Generally on my webinar calls or my global calls, I start by saying good morning, good afternoon, good evening. And so thank you for joining us. Truly appreciate you. And it is my prayer, it is my hope that I impart something meaningful in the time that we spend together today. Do know I don't take these requests lightly. I actually lose sleep over them. And so I hope you are taking notes and taking copious and detailed notes. I also hope you notice my beautiful background of our campus. And I am rocking our Pepperdine designer wear today. So I hope you notice that as well. So a little bit about how I came to be, and I'm going to share some slides. Before I share slides, I have a 30-year career in HR. I am described as an HR turnaround strategist. That means I like to come into organizations that are struggling to perform, so that are not performing, that are struggling to deliver results, that have low morale, where the workforce really needs high engagement. And I like to turn those organizations around. And so I've been blessed to do that throughout my career. I describe myself as a business leader in HR. Notice I say business first, and I happen to be in the HR function. And don't take that lightly either. What has my journey been? And give me a moment. I am going to share my slides here. Actually, let me do this. Share my screen. I know you'll let me know when you can see. Fantastic.
Yes. And if you want to put it on presentation mode. Perfect.
Done.
That's it. That's it.
Little delay, but done. So welcome. So here is my journey. Now you guys still see, let me minimize. There we go. So notice the brands. We're going to talk a lot about brands. I'd like to do a few things in addition to sharing my journey. Talk about in being involved and being engaged in Pepperdine University. Talk about the industry in which I work today, which is the DenTech, dental technology industry. Some of the trends, the macro trends, what's shaping our future. The intersectionality of dental and digital is wild. And then I'd like to talk a bit about you in terms of your brand, as we heard Dr. Ledbetter say. So here's a little bit about me. I served in the U.S. Army. My career started 30 years ago in the U.S. military, where I had the opportunity to serve in the Army and work with civilians and prospective soldiers. My MOS was, MOS is an acronym for Military Occupational Skill. Back then we called it personnel. So I worked in what was called a PAC, a Personnel Administration Center. You see the two brands, McDonald's and Northrop Grumman. I was blessed to work at those organizations while I was in high school. I'm an Angelina, born and raised in LA, so from SoCal. After I became a civilian, I went to Bank of America. Corporate HR, banking and finance, you name it at Bank of America, HR generalists, staffing and recruiting, as we called it then. Today we call it talent acquisition. Did that. I landed that opportunity, and you're going to hear a lot about brand, reputation, and relationships. I landed that opportunity because I served in the Army, and the manager that was a head of staffing and employment at Bank of America, her son was in the Army. When she saw that I served in the Army, she hired me on the spot. It's something I never expected. I spent 10 years in the consulting space, in staffing at Remedy, at Adecco, at Ronstadt. In between there, did an MBA at the best university, Pepperdine University. After grad school, I went to Government Aerospace Defense, landed that opportunity. At the time, our CEO and board chair, Bill Swanson, was on the board of regents at Pepperdine University. We had a huge alumni population in Southern California, so a great natural progression. Also, Raytheon is government aerospace defense, and so our customers were Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, Coast Guard, National Guard, so lots of veterans. Great progression there. HP split into two Fortune 50, $60 billion companies. I joined a large company, and we're all familiar with Hewlett-Packard. Our brand and our reputation, our relationships, they stay with us. I had a colleague at Raytheon who left and went to HP, and that colleague took me with them. Danaher, large life science biotech company. And today I work for a Danaher, and I'll talk a lot more about the company I work for today. I work for a Danaher heritage company. Danaher, like many brands, it's been around a long time. Many folks haven't heard about it. 35 years. The stock price, and I paused because I want to get these numbers right. The stock price was at $98 a share when I joined the company in 2018. Danaher stock price today is over $300 a share. Your business school students, if you haven't heard of them, check them out. They are known for buying and selling companies. They spin companies, and the companies they spin do extremely well also. There's a 60-year brand in the dental space called Ormco. Ormco is an acronym for Orthodontic Research Manufacturing Company. I landed at Danaher, Invista, Ormco. So you want to think about that as a family of companies through a colleague here in San Diego. My husband and I reside in San Diego today. who we met through SHRM, the Society of Human Resources Management. She said, you know what, we need your leadership. We need your global leadership, your global thinking, your strategic HR. And that's how I landed the role that I'm in today. And I've been in for over 3 years. You also see Cal State University, Dominguez Hills. That's where I did my undergraduate degree. And then you see California Coast. I'll talk more about Invista. Today, I'm blessed to serve on the board of California Coast Credit Union. It is one of our nation's largest credit unions. It's San Diego's oldest credit union, over 90 years. It has $3.5 billion in assets. How did I find out about that opportunity? The CEO is a Pepperdine alum. At the time when I interviewed for the position, the board chair was a Pepperdine alum, well, still is and still on the board. And then there were 2 more board directors that were both Pepperdine alums, 2 from the Graduate School of Education and Psychology and 2 from the Graziadio School of Business and Management. So brand, reputation, relationships, you will hear that pretty consistently. I want to talk to you about involvement, getting involved and staying involved with Pepperdine. You see a couple of pictures. I don't have any pictures yet with President Gash because of the pandemic. That will change. That you see our beloved President Andy Benton, and he's just amazing. I have been a Pepperdine associate for over 10 years. If you're not sure what that is, you can certainly check that out on the website. It means you consistently give. It's not how much you give, it's what you give. The Graziadio Alumni Council, with what we call GAN, served there for several years. By the way, I finished my MBA 16 years ago. So that was probably about 15 years ago when I was involved in GAN for a few years. From there, joined our ALC, which is the Alumni Leadership Council, was a member there for a couple of terms. And this is the body that oversees each one of the 5 schools. A founding member of our Black Alumni Council. And then I've been, just invited to do a number of guest lectures at GSBM and MSOD and the School of Public Policy, our School of Law, and love to mentor students as well. Why do I do all this? We know at Pepperdine, we're strengthening lives for purpose, service, and leadership. And getting involved and staying involved is so important. I also received the Torch Award. I share this with you because this award was given to alum who blazed the trail, hence Torch, for other students and alum. And so if we hired, we had a strategy called Waves Hiring Waves. If you hired waves into your organization, and at the time I was at the Raytheon Company, which we hired a lot of Pepperdine students and alum, I received this award. So something to think about, and I want to give you a lot to think about in this webinar. So additional involvement, the George Award also is a George Award recipient given to a number of alum from each one of the schools in each of the areas. And you see the award here. Was humbled and honored to receive this Alumni of the Year award for our business school. And we see our Dean, Linda. She was our Dean at the time. Again, blessed to receive the award. What's the takeaway here? Not that I received the award, that you should be involved. You should be engaged, work your network. This is today. Do we have the date on here? Yes, I do. See the date on the left, Friday, August 20th, 2021. Our EMBA 53, so 16 years ago, I think we're at EMBA 100 and something now, class came together at the Athenaeum. The general manager at the Athenaeum is a Pepperdine alum, and the Athenaeum is at Caltech. We came together and had an event there and had dinner and caught up. And our professor at the time, Professor Mark Mallinger, was there. We had a couple of other professors there. I mean, it was just incredible, just incredible. I encourage you to do that and do that 16 years later, like myself. And then just this month in 2021, during our Black History Month, was highlighted as one of the alum. So showing ways that you can get involved, stay connected to your alma mater. What you hear me saying is your involvement matters. We're strengthening lives for purpose, service, and leadership. Get involved early if you're not involved now. Stay involved over time. That is even more important. Connect with your Pepperdine family of schools. Our School of Law, our School of Public Policy, there are elected officials. I will name one for you. Dr. Shirley Weber. She was State Assembly for the 79th District. Today, she's the first African-American female Secretary of State for the state of California. Dear friend, she's here in San Diego. Guess what we have in common? We're both Pepperdine alum. To name a few, Senator Curran Price is a Pepperdine alum. So our School of Public Policy, and I can name many more. Our School of Law, our Graduate School of Education and Psychology, our MSOD program is part of GSBM. They're just stay connected to the Pepperdine family of schools. You may wonder, how did I come to Pepperdine? My grandfather is a Pepperdine alum from class of 56, from what we call GPC, the George Pepperdine College, which was in LA at the time before it moved to Malibu. And in fact, if you don't know already, there is still a relationship with Crenshaw Christian Center at 79th and Vermont in Los Angeles, and Pepperdine, and where we have artifacts there and we still serve and fellowship. Support your alma mater, and you can do so by examples that I've shared, but there are the 3 T's. Your time, you heard me say mentoring, you heard me say serving, your treasures, so certainly giving to the university, and then your talents. We need your talent. Where can you give? How can you help? And again, your involvement matters. I want to shift us now to where I am and who we are. So currently at Invista, you heard me say Invista is a Danaher heritage company. You also heard Dr. Bernice Ledbetter share that in my introduction. Danaher buys and sells companies. Today, we are a $2.5 billion company. When you think about Invista and dental technology, you want to think about all things dental. Again, think about all things dental: crowns, abutments. You see some of the loops, the imaging in this photo here. We manufacture all of that. Wires and brackets. We also are in the aligner space. So good old-fashioned braces. We manufacture those as well. Here's an overview of the industry. And so we were about 2.3, 2020. 2020 was rough, but a little kind to us in the dental industry. We saw disposable income where folks weren't traveling being used on beauty, if you will. So home improvement and beauty was kind of the year of 2020 in the pandemic. So today in 2021, we're about a $2.5 billion company, about 12,000 employees. We're in over 150 countries. I tell you, you heard me say Ormco is a 60-year brand. We have a 100-year brand in our Curb products. We have a 40-year brand in our Noble BioCare products. Those are implants, by the way. We do infection prevention, which worked really well in the pandemic in 2020 for us, as well as 2021. Equipment and consumables. When I talk about infection prevention and wipes and cavity wipes, those things are called consumables. We also do impression and implants. If you've been to the dentist and had to have your impression taken, we make that goo, is what we call it. It's green goo and blue goo. So we actually make the goo. And then you see where we are in terms of EMEA, Europe, Middle East, Africa. ROW is an acronym for rest of the world. And then where we are in North America. Our largest manufacturing sites are in Mexicali, so just on the other side of the border here in San Diego, and here in Southern California. in Yorba Linda, and in Pomona. So that's where our production engineers are. We are headquartered here in Southern California in Brea, California. And you see that in the top right corner. Here are our business segments. You heard me say specialty products, orthodontics, implants. So aligners, everybody knows Invisalign. Invisalign's been around a very long time. We are taking some of their market share and launched a new aligner, competitive, cutting edge, exciting, and then wires and brackets. So that's orthodontics. Implants, abutments are for Pontics. Pontics are missing teeth. And so anytime that you see an implant, and I'll talk about competitors shortly, they're either ours or our competitors. I mentioned consumables, small equipment, so handheld devices, we manufacture those things, and then large, very large equipment. And you see our brands at the bottom. Spark is our aligners brand. Metrics, that's our infection prevention line, our cavi wipes. And so the pink bottles that you see in the middle. And then Ormco, again, which is an acronym for Orthodontic Research Manufacturing Company, is our wires and brackets brand. Noble Biocare is our implants brand. We do treatment units. You see far right, big imaging machines. If you've ever gone into a dental office or oral surgeon or an orthodontist, any GP, periodontist, our equipment's in all those offices. And so, and had a full scale imaging, we manufacture those products as well. Okay. More information about our strong position with leading brands in terms of who we are and what we do. We have a premium implant business as well as a value implant business. And so Implant Direct, which is headquartered right out of Thousand Oaks, we have a manufacturing facility there as well. Wires and brackets. If you have ever had braces, because the brand has been around 60 years, you probably had Ormco braces and didn't know, very much like myself. Dr. Damon is a doctor who does the Damon system. And many of us have had Damon system, either wires, brackets, or retainers, because we also make retainers. And then technology has really taken the orthodontic space and made it faster. And so we have digital orthodontics. We are manufacturing with machines now instead of individuals. If and where we can, because this is such customized, unique, digitized work. Some of it can be automated and some of it not so much. Equipment and consumables, Gendex, iCat, big machines if you go into a hospital, big machines if you go into an oral surgeon kind of operating room that really take clear images of our facial structure, our jawline, our gum line, etc. I'll have to tell you, for me, what's been exciting about being in this space is over 25 years ago, I had a really bad car accident, hit the steering wheel. When I hit the steering wheel, my front teeth knocked out. I had to get in abutments, implants. I always wondered how the work was done. I would jokingly ask, okay, so how do they make these teeth and where do they make these teeth? How do we get all these wires aligned and the jaws straightened? I have all the answers to every question I ever asked. I would ask my orthodontist, gosh, these wires and brackets, these brackets are so small. Where do they make these? And what kind of metal is this? And so when I say all things dental, that is who we are and what we do. That's a bit about our products. Let me tell you a little bit about our culture. And it truly is our foundation. Because we had the opportunity, and I call this a once in a lifetime corporate America opportunity. We stood up a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange, had a chance to ring the bell as seen on CNBC, and come up with the colors and the logo. And it's exciting that our color scheme notice is orange, like Pepperdine. So truly one of my favorite colors. But our values, so our purpose, why are we here? What do I love about that? It aligns with Pepperdine purpose. Why are we here? We partner with professionals to improve lives. That is what we do. We have incredibly amazing stories of work that we've done. Again, individual, customized work, and it's really improved lives. And then our promise, we champion creators of confidence, building confidence. Our core values are in an acronym called CIRCLE. The C is the first C is for customer centricity. The second C is for continuous improvement. And then you see innovation, respect, and leadership. And then the E, we actually play on the E. The E is for employees. The E is for excellence. The E is for Invista. We are, when we talk about respect, we are strategic, intentional, and deliberate from a D&I, diversity and inclusion standpoint, from a respect and inclusion perspective. And I'll talk a bit more about that. But so those are our values. ESG, hoping in business school, you're hearing a lot about ESG. What do I mean by ESG? Environmental, social, governance. I'll say that again, environmental, social, governance. So our wires and brackets and the metals and the scraps, what are we doing that's green? Okay. From a social standpoint, D&I falls right into social. This was huge, I'll tell you, on Wall Street, really big. After the murder and death of George Floyd, the social unrest, what were companies doing? What statement were they making? And I'll tell you, in our quarterly earnings calls, our analysts, they were asking about it. And then ethics and governance. We did our first, and I'm going to share our D&I strategy with you, and then share our first, so inaugural ESG report. Our approach is really straightforward. Our strategy is around respect and belonging and around inclusiveness and integration. We have a three-pronged approach that focuses on diverse slates externally, diverse succession plans and slates internally. So that's talent acquisition and talent management. And then learning and celebrations. We want to learn and celebrate and grow together through a number of cultural heritage, historical events, a number of what we call L&L, lunch and learn events, growing inclusive teams, partnerships, a challenge to pivot and do that virtually, I'll tell you. That certainly has been a challenge, but we haven't missed a beat. We haven't lost the momentum. We're looking forward to coming back together in person. This is what D&I looked like in our ESG report. We really called out fostering a culture of belonging, how we champion creators of confidence, and then what we're doing about it. And this is something that the street, when I say the street, Wall Street investors, analysts review. In fostering a culture of belonging, we're focused on building a diverse future. So very well and very much on our journey. The dental space, I'll tell you, it has been around a long time. Not only has it been around a long time, it's great timing with the aging global population. It's a great time for the dental industry. So those are just some snippets and highlights. Let's shift as we talk about the dental industry. I want you to think about and remember three things. One, digitization. Two, personalization. And then three, democratization. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what that means. But in the dental industry, we'll talk about trends in the future. Dental is an attractive market. You heard me say our aging population. You heard me say the digitization of dental. It is wild. If you remember 10 years ago, it would take 3 months to get a crown. Now we're making crowns in the office. I mean, you literally can shape it, craft it. Technology is changing the dental industry that quickly. It's really driving process and procedure. It's just amazing to see. We partner with dental sales organizations, so DSO. Our DSOs really partner with us to increase access to our dentists, and that's been amazing. Great growth in emerging markets. China is talking about adding 150,000 dentists. We have over 200,000, and I say dentists because that's in general. So orthodontists, prosthodontists, you can add all the GPs, add all that, over 200,000, and we're adding more. We have today coming out of dental universities, which we partner with. So universities that have a dental program, if you will. Over 60% of the students coming out are women. So we're watching the landscape change as well. Big trend. Historically, it's been predominantly male. And so we're making shifts as an organization. So what are we up to and how are we doing? And who are our competitors? If you look lower right, Henry Schein, you heard me say Invisalign, Straumann. Straumann does quite a bit, as well as Dentsply Sirona. So one of the trends that we're seeing, competitors like Dentsply Sirona, 3M, they're getting out of the wires and bracket space. All of their focus in terms of a trend is going on aligners. And so their sense is patients aren't going to want wires and brackets. They're going to want clear aligners only. Straumann does implants, prosthetics, they do ortho. Straumann has Clear Correct. So Clear Correct is another what we call clear aligner business like Invisalign. And then Henry Schein is a partner. They're actually one of the largest in the space. We're one of the top 3. And they do a lot with the DSOs as well. What makes Invista unique? One, we're a Danaher Heritage company. Danaher Heritage companies are respected on Wall Street and very, very successful. We have what you call EBS capabilities, which focus on continuous improvement and standard work. We have an incredible install base entry point. Our clinicians, in terms of our clinical workflow, our software expertise, just amazing. And we're clinically capable. So these are some of the things we talk about in terms of how we're positioned in the market. When we talk about digitization, we are moving, technology is moving us from 2D to 3D. If you've been in the dental office recently, and I know I keep saying that, you probably are going to schedule an appointment. You will see the technology, the screens, the x-rays, the images. It is really this nice intersectionality of art and science, which is just awesome. Personalization, you've heard me say a number of times, just individualized. Our smile, our jaw lines, it's so unique. Our midpoint lines, the shape, the color, the size, that customization, that personalization is huge, is really, really big. And then democratization. What do I mean by that? COVID it has really changed our industry. The per dentist capita, how we're ramping, how we're moving. We are really keeping our eye on, when we talk about trends, how we're going to fare on the other side here. Couple of other thoughts, and then I'm going to shift into our brand as we're just past the top of the hour. And I see things in the chat. Dr. Bernice Ledbetter, should I pause here? Anything in the chat? I see 3 that we should address.
I am not seeing in the chat anything from our participants.
Okay, good. Okay, I got you. So if there are any questions or reactions, please do share. Just to close out dental, who we are and the trends that are shaping the industry. We're in a good place. The industry is stable. So when you think about stability, the industry is stable. You think about scale. You heard me say we're in over 150 countries, and we're adding tens of thousands of dentists in China, here in the US, so around the globe, scalable. And then the timing with the aging population, you will hear the analysts just say, really stable market, scalable, and great timing. Again, want to tie who we are to brand and tie that to you and in what's in your brand. So a couple things for you to think about: shaping your narrative, your presence, and then a question: what's in your pie? When you think about your value prop statement, you want to think about a few things. One, a unique selling position or proposition. Two, results. And then three, what's your elevator pitch? And this slide just gives you some points on what your elevator pitch is. You heard me do, in short, an elevator pitch on Invista, who we are and what we do, where we are, right? On the industry, that it should communicate who you are, and it should typically be about 30 seconds. Certainly you've crafted that. You might want to retweak it, dust it off. What I know about our value prop and our elevator pitch, it changes over time. What you want to do is assess yourself. You can do that. I have a slide with 10 questions. You can ask others. You want to develop and build that muscle, have a high receptivity to feedback. Ask others. You want to create that right impression of confidence, executive presence. And the ask here is, pick one thing that you've received feedback on, or one thing that you've received feedback about that you want to improve and work on that for 6 months. Practice it, read about it. You're in business school, so you're working on that. Find a mentor, a coach, etc. Okay. Your value prop is also about what you offer. It's also about what benefits you offer. You heard me say in the beginning, I'm an HR turnaround strategist. Crisp, succinct, part of my value prop. You also heard me say, I am a business leader whose profession is in HR. What do I offer, right? Part of what you offer. How do you do it? You know, I've been telling a couple of stories. I told the Cal Coast Credit Union story, shared the story about the car accident and my personal connection to where I work. So important, and so important for your brand. Part of my brand is I like to work for large global organizations, right? Invista is about 13,000 employees. HP was 325,000 employees. Even in the split, we were still 200,000 employees. Raytheon was 125,000 employees. Bank of America is 220,000 employees, 225 and counting. Large global brand. So I'm 13,000 roughly employees today. We're in over 150 countries. Working for a mid-cap sized company, the experience has been amazing. You get a chance to touch a lot more and see a lot more. But you want to highlight in your value prop, in addition to what you offer and what your benefits are, how you do what you do. And then my call to action would be, think about that elevator speech, that elevator pitch, and then think about what you want. I know it says, do you want a business card, right? Think about that as, do you want to connect on LinkedIn, or, you know, do you want a referral, or what? Do you want an appointment? You want to have a one-on-one? What is it that you want when you have that engaging conversation? So that's value prop. Here are the 10 questions I reference. Here's what I love about our phrases at Invista. We champion creators of confidence. What does number 1 say? Do I convey confidence? Does my body language, my gestures, my movements, do they project strength and assert credibility? Think about what you exude, and do people notice you? And if so, why? What's unique? You notice at the top, I pointed out my designer Pepperdine, my Pepperdine University scarf. By the way, this is a scarf from one of the Step Forward days that I received, and we were passing out to our alum and our associates in the area that we're serving. This really ties beautifully to your brand, your reputation, how you're perceived, because you heard me say our brand and our reputation precedes us, okay? Number 7, I really want to call out number 7. You want to take time to connect with people on a very personal level. That is so important before moving right into your agenda. You ever meet somebody and they go, hey, I'm looking for a job. I've been in HR for 30 years, so I get that all the time. But when you connect with somebody on a personal level, that helps move the needle in a different direction, okay? Executive presence. It is about three things. Your appearance, which you heard me talk about in the previous slide, your communication, how do you communicate, and gravitas. Gravitas is known as grace under fire. Do you have the right amount of edge? Do you have the right leadership and followership? Are you unflappable? A lot of study has been done here on this work with CTI, the Center for Talent Innovation. And in the study that they did, these are the three themes and words that kept jumping out. Appearance, do people notice you? Communication, what do your nonverbals say? What are your verbals saying? Do you exude the right balance of confidence, right? Not cockiness, but the right balance. And then gravitas. So communication I mentioned, and communication is really this neat thing, particularly, especially globally. And so it narrows down to leadership style, interaction style, temperament. How do you lead? How do you lead projects? How do you lead teams? And so I always say, we are first a leader of ourselves. We're then a leader of others. We're then a leader of leaders. I often say and hear, you can lead from wherever you are, even if you're in an individual contributor role. Because many organizations are matrixed and you're leading projects, you're leading teams. And so you might not have a hard line team, you have a dotted line team. Interaction style, easy to work with, easy to partner with, or tough, cantankerous, and difficult. So think about those things, especially while you're in business school, working in teams and on projects. Temperament, you heard me say earlier, are you easily flustered? Are you unflappable, right? So important around communication. And again, this is about your brand. Couple more slides here. I think there's a question in the Q&A. Bernice?
Yes. A couple of things came in. Thanks so much. So from the Q&A, Julie says, Meisha, your passion for Invista is almost palpable. Really awesome to hear your excitement. Speaking about purpose, did you always know the importance of seeking purpose while also accepting a job offer?
So did I always know that? No, is the short answer. Here are some of the things you want to think about. I'll tell you, every brand on my journey slide, I had a personal and rich connection to. McDonald's, as a teenager, I ate at McDonald's. I'm like, you know what? I'm in here all the time. They might as well put me on the payroll, right? So think about that. HP, I'd always say, I'm a PC, I'm not a Mac. I always had HP products. Certainly I could work at HP. Had a connection, okay? Same with Raytheon, had a connection. Calco's Credit Union. So my husband's parents are 50-year members. My husband's a 30-year member. Personal connection. Invista, so when I went to Danaher, I knew I wanted to go to a life science biotech company. Why? I had family members that were fighting in diagnostics and assay tests were saving their lives. They were fighting cancer. My mother is a stroke survivor. I had been in more hospitals. Leica Biosystems is a brand that tests cancer. If you've had a mammogram for the women on the call, when you go in, you'll see Leica Biosystems products. That's a Danaher company, right? And so think about what's meaningful to you, and that helps you with purpose. People often ask me, what do you do? How do you just don't seem like you work. I make a point to work somewhere that's meaningful, that's personally meaningful, of course, and professionally meaningful, but personally, it will get you up in the morning, right? Personally, just is so much more purpose driven. And then that changes the lives of others. At HP, we changed lives through technology around the globe. We certainly did so at Raytheon. We certainly did so at Bank of America and banking and finance and financial wellness and financial literacy. So I hope that helps.
Great, thank you. And there's one other question in the chat that came in a little bit ago. Speaking about brand and organizations, the brand that organizations put forward, what do you recommend in terms of building a brand for smaller companies? Are there any tips for that?
So most of what you heard me share is applicable. So let me start there. To any size organization. I would ask if they could type in the chat if they could quantify small, because everything's relative.
Right, and that's from Kieran. So Kieran, give us a sense of what small means. 40 people.
40 people, and it's the same thing. So you want to think about your value proposition. What value do you add? You heard me share some of that with regards to Invista. How do you impact others? And those 10 questions certainly can apply to an organization as well. Also, and I'm on the relationship capital slide. So small and large companies, I tell you, we all have mentors, coaches, somebody advocating for us, somebody sponsoring us. If I used Danaher Invista as an example, Danaher would be our sponsor. Wall Street would be advocating for us. Our sister operating companies would be our coach. And then we're constantly being mentored by our investors. Ariel Investments is one of our top investors, and they're constantly mentoring us. Now, if you use this personally in your personal board of directors, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our board of directors, they are always coaching us. In your personal board of directors, you would have a mentor, you'd have a coach, you'd have somebody advocating for you, and you'd have a sponsor. And can this all be one person? Yes. In often cases, it isn't, because that one person isn't in all the places that they need to be. Okay. You want to see a mentor like somebody you go to as a sounding board over time. A coach is real time, right? So if you're on the football field, you're on the soccer field, you run to the sideline, you get some feedback, you go right back out, you try it again, you come back to the sideline, you go back out and try it again. That's a coach. An advocate is somebody who's talking about you when you're not in the room. Oh, Bernice is great. You know what? She'd be great over here. I'd love for Bernice to do this. That's an advocate. And then a sponsor is a person saying, that's Bernice's job. That's Bernice's job. I want her in this job. I want her in this role. I'm going to provide her the air cover and I'm going to commit to her success. So it's based on meritocracy. And that's brand and reputation. I know we're down to our last 10 minutes. Please, questions in the chat. What would I leave you to think about? Two things. One, your digital footprint, your value prop. Look at your LinkedIn and you see a couple of my things. My talent profile, you should have one. Your social media, clean it up if it's not clean, because we're looking. That digital footprint is so important. Your CV, your resume, you see mine in the middle. Any articles, you see a San Diego Magazine article, any features, speaking engagements, articles, posts. I cannot tell you how important the digital footprint is. And if you follow the NFL and you see what recently happened to the Raiders coach and those emails, that's a digital footprint. And those emails were from years ago, and it was hundreds of thousands of them. And so think about your brand. That is part of his brand. And that's Coach Gruden, unfortunately. Right? And so, and as we say, we talk about purpose, service, and leadership. I tell you, they say sunlight is the best antiseptic, or what's done in the dark will come to light. That certainly did come to light, right? Make sure your brand, right? Your digital footprint, your value prop, clean those things up, and you have this. What's in your pie? Performance, image, exposure. So pie is an acronym. I'd ask you this, if you could type in the chat, what percentage of the pie do you think is most important? Performance, image, or exposure? And what percentage would you give to each? I'd love your thoughts.
And while folks are typing in, a couple of questions came in. So from TMB, can you say a bit more, give us some insight on gravitas, a little bit more on that?
A little bit more on gravitas. So gravitas, if you think about giving a presentation and say you're presenting to analysts or you're presenting to your strat project, to the Pepperdine team, and tough questions are coming your way, or you're getting some feedback. If you're not self-aware or you have a lower receptivity to feedback, you'll see folks that they push back, they're negative, they are argumentative. That's low gravitas. That's not gravitas. Gravitas is saying, you know what? Feedback is a 4-letter word. It is a gift, G-I-F-T. It is a gift. And thank you for that. When somebody gives you a gift, what do you say? Thank you. That's gravitas. Gravitas is grace under fire. I got to make a tough decision. And we saw a lot of it in the pandemic. We saw a lot of it during the social unrest for leaders. I have to ask tough questions, answer tough questions, and remain cool and calm. Cool as a cucumber. You're not this leader with high highs and low lows, if you will, flying off the handle. And I know we see a lot of them in sports, but in the business world, right? Having that gravitas.
That's awesome. Thank you. And then another question came in from Della. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Really appreciate your insight and your career and your background. When it comes to mentorship, how did you strategically pick your mentors internally or externally at your organization? Did you pick your mentors?
Yeah. So there are 2 ways. Well, I'll tell you what the research says. The research says that the mentoring relationship is 2 to 3 times more likely to be successful when the mentee chooses his or her mentor. I've done both. I've selected my mentor, and then I've had someone come to me and say, hey, I'd love to be your mentor. When choosing a mentor, what you want to think about is who do you admire? Who do you aspire to be like? Who motivates you? Who can you learn and grow from? You want to think about those things. Okay.
Great point. One more question came in. This is a great question. So you've worked in a lot of major corporations during your career. On average, how long did you typically stay with each employer before moving on to your next opportunity? And how did you know when it was time to move on? From Dewan is asking this question.
Yeah, so the answer to that question is about 6 years. I was at Bank of America. I was in the military 6 years before I ETS. I was at Bank of America 5.5 years. I was at Raytheon 5 years and 9 months. I was at HP just over 6.5 years. I mean, so right around 6 years, something starts happening. How did I know it was time? I entered every company with an exit strategy. And you want to know where I learned that? Business school at Pepperdine University. That exit strategy says, I want to accomplish this. I want to accomplish that. I want to get this done. I want to get that done. And then when you get that done, you kind of go, wow, I'm out of runway here. I always pray before I leave an organization and join a new organization. I pray in gratefulness for having had the opportunity, and then pray for clarity on, okay, where should I go next? So that's what I do, and that's what I recommend.
That's awesome. So on your question with regard to the percentages, one person, Ivy, posted on the slide that you have on the screen right now, image is about 40%, performance is about 40%, and exposure is 20%.
Ooh, thank you for that, Ivy. I'm on the next slide. Look at exposure, 60%. Look at image, 30%. and look at performance, 10%. Here's the deal. To get to the executive levels and the senior executive levels, visibility and exposure is so important. Your brand and your image, which is why I wanted to spend time here, is so important. Performance, table stakes. What do I mean by table stakes? That comes with, that's expected. That's a given. Your role is to have your team perform. You've got to be out and about and connected and networked. That's why I had that relationship capital. 60% exposure, 30% image. So image is how you present yourself. Image is how other people perceive you. That's your brand. Performance is your day-to-day work. Exposure is who knows you, who knows about you, who knows about the quality of your work. It's about visibility. It's about advocating. That visibility and exposure is so key, so critical.
It really is. And well, it's not a question. Oh, please finish your.
And this is my last slide at 2:28, because I really, the military in me likes to be on time, y'all. So your brand, your network, you want to craft your brand. So value prop, know your brand. Knowing your brand is about being self-aware, right? You may be perceived, you may see yourself this way and you're perceived a totally different way. Know what's in your pie: performance, image, and exposure. Ask for help there too. And then I'd close by saying, at Pepperdine, we're strengthening lives for purpose, service, and leadership. I always say I'd give Pepperdine my right arm if I didn't need it myself. So what I do instead is I serve and stay connected to my alma mater. I give, and then I'm always focused on leadership. I'm reading a book now. Oh, I packed it because I'm going away for the weekend. Remember the author who wrote the book, Never Eat Alone? So he wrote a book called Leading Without Authority, because as a vice president, you ask people to do stuff and they don't do it. So how do we lead without authority? Authority does not come with the title. And so I have my leaders reading this book, and we're going to discuss it in our next retreat. But that's an example of always focusing on leadership. And so with that, I say thank you. I don't know if we have one final question, Bernice, but I say thank you, and I will turn the floor back over.
Thank you, Meisha. Fabulous, fabulous insight. Thank you so much. We're all inspired to do our very best because of you and your words today. And I want to put out a little announcement to everyone. Please know that Invista, Meisha's company, is doing an information session at noon on Monday. Yeah. Students can sign up in Handshake. So if you want to learn more about this fabulous company, please attend the information session and do sign up in Handshake. All right, thank you so much, everyone. I want to say, unfortunately, we have to bring this to a close because this has been so fabulous and so insightful. There's thank yous coming in, and thank you so much coming in on the chat. Thank you, Meisha. Thank you for everything you've done for our school. Thank you for being fabulous and wonderful, and we're so grateful and proud and appreciate so much your ongoing affiliation. Thank you for being available today to join us and to teach us and share with us your rich insights. With that, we'll bring our session to a close, everyone. Wishing you a good and safe weekend ahead, and we look forward to seeing you at our next event. Take good care. Bye for now.
Thanks so much. Bye, everybody.